Okay, so let's find out what you've been saying on X. But the very first we'll deal with was this arrest of EFCC officers ordered by the chairman himself over unprofessional conduct. You understand? We can see what happened. We don't know this video. That's the video. All right. Yesterday, I was just wondering to myself, imagining myself in a hotel with my wife, and then this happens. Look,
this is disturbing on all levels. Very disturbing.
Totally condemnable.
And this is not the first time that this has been reported. Well, there's evidence on this one. So let's take a look at what you are saying about this. Let's start off with this comment from Donald_Shegun. This is very disturbing. A lot of people have found this very disturbing. But Donald_Shegun says the arrest and investigation should not be hidden from the public. Please, there is a need to revamp the method of operation of the EFCC officers. Otherwise, their attitude to work could lead to another nationwide protest.
Let people not start invading the EFCC this time. So we have to be careful. I'm happy the leadership of the agency was prompt. Yeah. And let's make whatever comes out of that investigation public. That's the only way you can win public confidence, not backroom, whatever. Let's know what happened with that guy. Opinionated freak. That's what he calls himself. We would want the identities posted with pictures and also a follow-up to the arrest. It's just not to be vuvuzela noise. Transparency would help people believe they are actually held accountable, just what I said. I commend him for the swift response, though. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think that's the overwhelming reaction. Good that this was swift. The next one is from Michael Akonasu. One says, well, this is good news. Henceforth, these officers shall always carry out their duties professionally. We don't want any issues that will result to crisis in our dear country.
Dole says, timely response. Salute to the chairman. But we'll be here for update. Make the officer learn lesson, I beg, to avoid the occurrence. Okay. More like teach them a lesson.
Okay, there you go. So this is some of the comments on that issue that played out. Very disturbing, but good to see some action from the EFCC. Of course, we'll be following up on this one. But the EFCC is not only involved in, fighting cyber crimes and the rest, which method sometimes has been criticized. There's also the EFCC versus Yahaya Bello, big one. And we understand that yesterday, the former governor, Yahaya Bello, sought to transfer his case from the nation's capital to Lokoja, the Kogi state capital. There are a lot of questions around this case anyway, but let's even deal with this one and take the first response from Oloyede with lots of figures. Says the request is in line with the law of the land anyway. The Federal High Court at Kogi State should take over the case, and nothing stops the EFCC to remain plaintiff of that case. Now, that doesn't in any way find him guilty and jailed if he's actually guilty of the offense. I'm trying to figure out what you mean there, but basically, this is saying that's in line with the law. You can always seek to move your case to maybe where the crime or alleged crime was committed.
With this Yahaya Bello's case, there's a lot to talk about. But let's leave that for the lawyers, because there's a lot to talk about.
Because a lot of people have said, why didn't the EFCC also bust into, where he was, just like we saw in that video?
EFCC stood there. He was inside that building. They stood. His own defense system was protecting him. EFCC was making a point we can come and arrest. But with regular citizens, things happen. That's why it must not just be done. It must be seen to be done in AKA justice, okay? Nobody's saying he's guilty, but Nigerians are wondering why the rules seem to be adjusted from different individuals. But the lawyers will debate that, not our job. Akoje Sylvester says, no, he should be tried anywhere. A clear conscience fears no accusation. He needs no worry. Initially, he was nowhere, and suddenly he submitted himself. Why bother about where he will be tried? Calm down.
Well, Collins Opara says, or believes, that this is maneuver, a blatant maneuver, actually, to evade accountability. It's imperative that the case remains in Abuja to ensure transparency and fairness. So that's left for the judge to decide. We'll see how the lawyers argue.
The judge that will decide that. Chukunyere says, is he considering the cost of going to Abuja might be quite heavy on him owing to the current economic realities? This sounds like sarcasm. Of
course, I think
it shouldn't worry. The cost will be borne, already is borne by the EFCC. He should just make himself available, because he was supposed to. The thing is a corruption charge. Yeah. He's supposed to come and take a plea, guilty or not guilty. Right. Yahaya Bello has not been caught and with all of this back and forth between him and the lawyers and the judge and all of that. It's a long story.
So this is different strokes for different folks, but not the type that I want to see, because the law should be clear. The law should not be a respecter of anyone. So we'll see how the judge decides. Finally, on this one, local champion Chris Forsum says, or Chris Forsum Fon, I should say, says, now listen to this, this will interest you. Throughout his governance as Kogi State Governor, he spent majority of his time in Abuja. This user is asking, why does he want to shy away from Abuja from this prosecution? Yeah, and I think we should actually have a conversation around how a lot of governors spend a lot of time in the nation's capital, Abuja.
The truth is that even within the system, there has been complaint. Some governors don't stay in their states. They literally live in Abuja. And you're wondering, what exactly, why did you become a governor? You know, I don't understand that. Okay, some private judge used for money laundering, drug trafficking, according to Minister Festus Keyamo, and he's raining down on all of that. He's set up a committee to take a look at all of that. I think Sanusi, the captain, he's in charge of that committee. But he's saying that some of these people have licenses to operate private jets. The things they do are not acceptable. He said this is a serious issue that needs to be addressed. However, this is coming from Mayor of Edo, by the way. However, it's not a new discovery that some private jets in Nigeria are used for money laundering and drug trafficking. We need stricter enforcement and accountability to combat these crimes effectively.
And I think that this next user echoes or re-echoes one major point that has been made about naming and shaming. If these, charter operators have been identified, who are they? So take a look at what Conscience, that's what 1981 says. Who owns the identified private jets? Why were they not arrested for committing the crime and the aircraft confiscated?
Oh boy. Collins Opara says, saying it is not enough. The authorities must crack down on these illegal activities and hold the perpetrators accountable.
Yeah, I think it's high time we started doing that consistently now. Yes, there should be the procedure. If they're found guilty, I mean, you see people, they even parade suspects anyway. Suspects that have not been tried, they're paraded. So why can't we have these names? Well, let's jump to another big conversation.
You know, just before we jump to that conversation, it brings to the fore what we call the rule of law.
Right.
We still don't have a believable rule of law the much we should have. It's a perception. It may not be true, but perception is people's reality. This rule of law, this issue around when is the rich, the haves, there's a way around it. When is the poor bum? Before you know you're in prison. That is not the kind of society we want to build. So that's not where we want to go.
This next topic actually ties into what you just said, Jeffrey, and it concerns the minimum wage, back and forth. Why is government sticking to 62,000? At least for now, as far as we know, we don't know what the finality will be from the president. And they keep asking, but when it comes to paying this, that, people in authority, there isn't any debate and all of that. So the southern governors actually came out to say that each state should be allowed to negotiate the minimum wage. So is that something that you also support? Yahaya Bello says, that's how it should be. This national thing is not helping Nigeria. Governance starts from the grassroots. That's what this user thinks.
All right. Shay says, laugh out loud. They don't exhibit this kind of independence when there's federal allocation to share from revenue gained from other parts of the country. Okay. Amazing.
Angle. Victoria, that's go to and says, Nigeria is moving towards regionalism. In reality, the FG should not legislate a single minimum wage rate for all states. So by extension, the governors should not earn the same thing. So if you are in a state that is not earning as much, naturally the governor should not earn as much. So it should be a reflection of what the workers are earning. Legislators also reflect what the workers are earning. I think that's fair.
That's what we're talking about, a society that
ties back to that.
Yes, point. That particular point. Because what about if they cut their own salaries or whatever by maybe another 60% just to have enough money to pay workers? But there's a point in trying to negotiate according to how you can pay. But if you leave it to some of these states, when it was 30,000 or it's still 30,000, some can't even pay.
Until they were
If you leave it to them, you know the point. Joy for you says, is it okay? Oluwafemi says the governor's salary should also be paid according to state ability.
Took that right out of
I like that.
And finally, Joy for you.
Sarcasm everywhere.
I think it's actually...
Yeah, maybe.
It makes sense.
Makes sense.
Because he's also a worker.
Yeah.
Employed by the people. Finally.
Paid by the people.
Exactly. It's good that you southern governors want to do a good job if you actually mean it. That's this final user says, but would you have more money also if you start by scrapping salaries, pension packages to ex-governors? So there you have it. Well, absolutely not the last on the conversations we'll have. So we're starting off with this one and that package which the president sort of presented to Nigerians at the National Economic Council yesterday. It touched on infrastructure, road infrastructure, purchase of buses, even distribution of food, assorted food. That's the term used. Payment of monies they call it grants for 3 months and the rest. So what is this about? Why haven't we heard anything about the minimum wage? That is in a few seconds. So stay with us right here on the Morning Brief.